Most people do not ruin their financial life because they never find the perfect investment. They usually get stuck because they start believing money is supposed to move fast. Fast wins, fast status, fast proof that they are doing better than everyone else. But the truth is, the kind of money that actually changes your life usually comes from the opposite direction. It comes from slow decisions, boring habits, and the quiet discipline to not destroy your future just to look successful today. And that is hard to accept, because everything around us makes patience feel like failure. You can work all week, pay your bills, put a little money aside, and still feel like nothing is happening. Then you open your phone and see someone with a new car, a luxury apartment, a vacation, a watch, a business win, or some investment that supposedly made them rich overnight. Suddenly, your normal progress does not feel like progress anymore. It feels like you are behind. By the end of this video, I want to explain why that feeling is so dangerous, and why one of the biggest money mistakes people make is chasing the appearance of wealth before they build the foundation of wealth. Because the real game is not about looking rich. It is about becoming stable enough that money slowly stops controlling every decision you make. And once you understand that, the boring parts of personal finance start to look very different. My name is John, and I try to keep money conversations honest, simple, and realistic. I do not think money is easy, and I do not think people struggle because they are lazy or stupid. A lot of people are trying to make good decisions while dealing with high rent, groceries that feel more expensive every year, car repairs at the worst possible time, debt payments, family pressure, and the exhaustion that comes from working full-time and still feeling behind. That is why the shortcut mindset is so tempting. It does not just promise money, it promises relief. It promises that maybe there is a way to skip the stress, skip the waiting, skip the slow climb, and finally feel like you are caught up. But this is where most people get it wrong. The shortcut usually does not remove pressure. It adds more of it. And sometimes the thing that looks like a fast path to wealth is really just a faster path into debt, stress, and decisions you cannot easily undo. The biggest mistake is thinking wealth is supposed to feel exciting the whole time. In reality, a lot of real financial progress feels almost invisible while it is happening. Paying off a credit card does not feel as exciting as buying something new. Keeping your car longer does not get attention. Increasing your savings by a small amount does not make anyone impressed. Investing consistently into a long-term plan can feel painfully boring, especially in the beginning, because the results are small and the sacrifice feels immediate. But boring does not mean weak. Boring is often what keeps you free. The person who avoids bad debt may not look impressive online, but they have fewer payments pulling money out of their future. The person who saves before an emergency hits may not feel rich, but they have options when life gets unpredictable. The person who invests early and keeps going may not feel like much is happening for years, but time is quietly doing work in the background. The problem is that our brains are not naturally built to value slow rewards. We are much better at feeling what is happening right now. Right now, the payment looks manageable. Right now, the new car feels deserved. Right now, the vacation feels like a break from stress. Right now, everyone else seems to be doing more, buying more, and living better. Long-term progress is harder to feel because it does not give you instant proof. It asks you to believe in something that may take years to become obvious. And this is where psychology comes in. A lot of people are not just spending money. They are trying to buy a feeling. They want to feel successful. They want to feel less behind. They want to feel like their work actually means something. When life feels repetitive and every paycheck disappears into bills, it is normal to want some evidence that you are moving forward. The danger is when looking like you are moving forward becomes more important than actually moving forward. That is how lifestyle inflation sneaks in. It usually does not happen all at once. Someone gets a raise, and instead of that raise creating breathing room, it gets absorbed into a nicer car payment, more takeout, a more expensive apartment, upgraded subscriptions, or purchases that feel small in the moment but become normal over time. The paycheck gets bigger, but the pressure does not go away. And that is one of the quietest traps in personal finance, earning more money but never actually becoming more free. This is the part nobody really explains. More income can help, but it does not automatically fix the pattern. If every increase in income immediately becomes a higher standard of living, then your future self never gets the benefit. You work harder, make more, and still feel like you are standing in the same place. The outside may look better, but internally the stress is still there because the gap between what comes in and what goes out never really changes. That gap is where financial progress lives. Not in the image, not in the brand name, not in how expensive your lifestyle looks. Progress usually lives in the space between your income and your decisions. When you create a gap, even a small one, you give yourself power. That gap can become savings. It can become debt payoff. It can become an investment. It can become the difference between an emergency being stressful and an emergency becoming a financial disaster. But the hard part is that creating that gap often feels like you are denying yourself. You might think, I work hard, so why should I not enjoy my money? And honestly, that is a fair question. Money is not only for some distant future version of you. You should be able to enjoy life now. But there is a difference between enjoying your money and letting your lifestyle quietly take away your options. The goal is not to live like you are scared of spending. The goal is to spend in a way that does not trap you. Bad debt is one of the clearest examples of that trap. Not all debt is the same, and life is not always simple. Sometimes people use debt because they are trying to survive, not because they are careless. But high-interest consumer debt can become dangerous because it turns past decisions into future obligations. Something you bought months ago can still be reaching into every paycheck, taking money before you even get to decide where it should go. That is why debt can feel so emotionally heavy. It is not just a number on an app. It changes how you experience work. When you already know a big part of your paycheck is spoken for, work can start to feel less like building a future and more like servicing the past. You are not just tired from your job. You are tired from feeling like your money leaves before it ever belongs to you. And when that feeling builds up, shortcuts become even more tempting. People sometimes chase risky investments, get-rich-quick ideas, or fake financial confidence because they are trying to escape that pressure. They are not always being greedy. Sometimes they are desperate for momentum. But when someone is financially stretched, they are often in the worst position to take big risks. A loss does not just hurt their account. It can hurt their rent money, their car payment, their ability to sleep, and their ability to think clearly. The mistake is thinking wealth is only about math. Math matters, but behavior controls whether the math ever gets a chance to work. You can understand compound interest and still overspend. You can know investing is important and still wait for the perfect time. You can make decent money and still feel broke if your habits expand faster than your income. Real progress comes from building a life where good decisions are easier to repeat. That is why saving before life forces you to is so important. An emergency fund is not exciting, and it is not where most people build massive wealth. But it does something psychologically powerful. It gives you a buffer between your life and panic. When something breaks, when hours get cut, when a family situation comes up, or when a bill arrives at the wrong time, savings can keep the problem from turning into a spiral. Without that buffer, every surprise becomes urgent. And urgency is expensive. When you are under pressure, you might put the repair on a credit card, take a bad loan, overdraft an account, or make a decision that solves this week but makes the next 6 months harder. Savings is not just money sitting there. It is time. It is calm. It is the ability to make a better decision because you are not forced into the fastest one. And this is why looking rich can be so misleading. A person can have a nice car, nice clothes, a nice apartment, and still be one missed paycheck away from panic. Another person can look completely ordinary but have low debt, steady savings, and investments quietly growing in the background. From the outside, the first person may look more successful. But financially, the second person may be far more free. The outside version of money is easy to see. The inside version is hidden. Nobody sees the emergency fund. Nobody sees the automatic investment. Nobody sees the avoided payment, the debt that was never taken on, or the decision to keep living below a raise. But those hidden choices are often the ones that matter most. They are not loud, but they compound. Compound interest is usually explained with charts and numbers, but emotionally, it is about trust. It is trusting that small actions repeated long enough can become meaningful later. When you invest early, even with modest amounts, you give time a chance to help you. That does not mean investments only go up, and it does not mean the future is guaranteed. Markets rise and fall, and exact results always depend on what you invest in, fees, taxes, timing, and how long you stay consistent. But the general principle is simple. Time can turn consistency into something much larger than it looks like in the beginning. The frustrating part is that early investing often feels unrewarding. You might put money in for a few months and think, that's it? The account balance does not look life-changing. The market moves around. Some months feel flat. Some months feel negative. Meanwhile, the money you invested could have bought something you would enjoy right now. That emotional trade-off is real. You are giving up immediate comfort for future flexibility, and future flexibility does not always feel exciting when the present already feels hard. But this is also the turning point. Real wealth is not just about having more. It is about needing less from every single paycheck. It is about lowering the amount of pressure your life puts on you. When you avoid bad debt, control lifestyle inflation, build savings, and invest early, you are not just chasing a bigger number. You are slowly buying back control. Control over emergencies. Control over choices. Control over how much fear you feel when life changes. And once you see it that way, boring habits stop looking boring. They start looking like protection. They start looking like a quiet rebellion against a culture that wants you to spend everything, finance everything, upgrade everything, and compare yourself to people whose real financial situation you cannot see. Patience becomes less about missing out and more about refusing to let your future be owned by today's impulse. That does not mean you have to be perfect. Perfect is usually where people quit. They build a budget that is too strict, cut everything they enjoy, make one mistake, and then feel like the whole plan failed. A better approach is to build habits that can survive your real life. Your real life includes tired days, unexpected expenses, birthdays, holidays, car maintenance, higher grocery bills, and weeks where motivation is low. A plan that only works when life is easy is not a very strong plan. So the practical path is not extreme. Start by noticing where your money already has obligations before you touch it. Debt payments, subscriptions, car costs, rent, food, insurance, and all the normal things that make life expensive. Then look for the gap. It may be small at first. That is okay. The goal is to make that gap consistent and slowly protect it. If you get a raise, a bonus, or your income improves, decide ahead of time that not all of that increase gets absorbed by lifestyle upgrades. This one decision can change a lot. You can still improve your life, but you do not have to upgrade everything at the same time. Maybe part of the raise goes toward enjoying life, and part of it goes toward savings, debt payoff, or investing. That balance matters because it keeps personal finance from feeling like punishment. The goal is not to make your life smaller. The goal is to make your future stronger without making today feel miserable. Automating good habits can also help because it removes some of the emotional debate. When money automatically moves into savings or investments, even if the amount is small, you stop relying completely on motivation. Motivation is unstable. It changes with your mood, your stress, your energy, and what you saw online that day. Systems are calmer. They keep going when you are busy. They turn a good intention into something that actually happens. But automation only works if the amount is realistic. If you automate too much and constantly have to pull the money back out, it can create frustration. Start with something you can actually keep. A small habit that continues for years is usually more powerful than an aggressive plan that collapses after 2 months. This is where progress beats intensity. You are not trying to impress anyone with how extreme your plan looks. You are trying to build something you can live with. Another practical step is to separate looking wealthy from becoming wealthy. Before taking on a new payment, ask what it does to your future flexibility. Does it make your life better in a way that is worth the obligation? Or does it mostly make you feel caught up for a few weeks before it becomes another bill? That question is not about shame. It is about honesty. Some purchases are worth it, some are not. The danger is never asking the question until after the payment becomes part of your life. This matters even more because comparison is everywhere now. You are not just comparing yourself to people in your neighborhood or at work. You are comparing yourself to edited versions of thousands of people online. You see the purchase, not the payment. You see the vacation, not the credit card balance. You see the lifestyle, not the stress behind it. And if you judge your progress against someone else's highlight reel, your own steady progress can start to feel invisible. That invisible progress is where many people give up too early. They save for a few months, then an emergency wipes it out, and they feel like they are back at zero. But that is not failure. That is what the savings was for. They invest for a year, the market drops, and they feel like they made a mistake. But long-term investing was never supposed to feel smooth every month. They pay down debt, then life gets expensive again, and they feel discouraged. But every dollar of debt paid off still reduces some future pressure. This is why the deeper skill is not just financial knowledge. It is emotional endurance. Can you keep going when progress is not obvious? Can you avoid letting one setback convince you the whole plan is pointless? Can you build a financial life that does not depend on excitement? Because wealth built through patience often feels slow, right before it starts to feel powerful. And no, this does not mean everyone has the same starting line. Some people have family help, higher income, lower expenses, better timing, or fewer emergencies. Others are carrying debt, supporting family, dealing with medical costs, or trying to survive in a city that keeps getting more expensive. It would be dishonest to pretend everyone can follow the same path at the same speed. But even with different starting points, the principles still matter because they are about reducing financial fragility wherever you are. Avoiding bad debt matters because it protects future income. Controlling lifestyle inflation matters because it lets raises actually improve your life instead of just upgrading your bills. Saving matters because life will eventually test your plan. Investing early matters because time is one of the few advantages that cannot be rushed later. Patience matters because most real progress does not announce itself every day. The main mindset shift is this: wealth is not the moment people notice you. Wealth is the moment your life becomes less fragile. It is when a surprise bill does not completely derail you. It is when you can say no to something because you are not desperate. It is when your future has more options because your past decisions did not consume every dollar. That kind of wealth may not look flashy, but it changes how you feel when you wake up in the morning. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are not building your life on appearances. You may not be moving as fast as the person online claims to be, but you are building something real. You are lowering pressure. You are creating space. You are giving your future self fewer problems to clean up. And over time, that matters more than looking impressive for people who are not paying your bills. So, if you feel behind, I would not start by asking how to catch up overnight. I would start by asking what would make your life less fragile over the next 12 months. Maybe it is paying down one high-interest balance. Maybe it is building your first small emergency fund. Maybe it is starting a realistic investing habit. Maybe it is refusing to let your next raise disappear into a lifestyle you do not even care about that much. The answer depends on your life, and any specific financial, tax, or investing choices should be verified for your situation because rules and limits can change. But the principle is steady. Do not let the appearance of wealth become more important than the foundation. Do not let shortcuts pull you away from the habits that actually create stability. Do not underestimate small, boring actions just because they are not exciting today. A lot of financial peace is built quietly, long before anyone else can see it. And maybe that is the part worth remembering. Real progress does not always feel like a breakthrough. Sometimes it feels like keeping the old car a little longer. Sometimes it feels like saying no to a payment you could technically afford. Sometimes it feels like investing a small amount while wondering if it even matters yet. Sometimes it feels like rebuilding savings after life uses the savings for exactly what it was meant for. Those moments do not always feel powerful while you are living them. But they are. Because every time you choose stability over appearance, patience over panic, and future flexibility over short-term validation, you are doing something most people struggle to do. You are building a financial life that is not just about looking successful. You are building one that can actually hold weight. And that is the real opposite of the shortcut mindset. It is not about being boring for the sake of being boring. It is about understanding that freedom is often built through decisions that nobody claps for. The goal is not to look rich. The goal is to become less controlled by money over time. That is slower. It is quieter. But it is also much more real. If this video helped you see money progress a little differently, you can like the video so more people can find it. And if you want more calm, honest conversations about money, investing, and building a life with more breathing room, you can subscribe. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment which part feels hardest right now. Avoiding debt, controlling lifestyle inflation, saving consistently, investing early, or staying patient when progress feels slow.